Yay!
So I have a more serious question. So do you guys think, I guess it's not that serious, but so do you think this whole manipulation is just from Are You the One? Or do you think this is all reality shows? Like, what if a listener is like, I want to apply for The Bachelor, or a casting director has reached out for me for this. I am kind of interested in going on reality TV. Would you go on this show, or would you say don't do it?
Would I personally go on, or tell this person to go on? I would.
And
What would you tell them?
Do I
What would
care
you tell
about?
them?
Do I care about this person?
Yes.
Yes, like Sophie.
Oh gosh, I mean, because
Okay.
it's such like the experience is so wild and crazy. You'll never go through anything else, and I mean, just the possibility to win money and possibility to meet a best friend, like,
You definitely make friends.
Yeah.
And like,
that alone is enough, I would say, to just try it. But I would say to make sure you are mentally sound before you go on this, and mentally sound afterwards. Like, don't be afraid to seek therapy and have a solid family and friend group around you before anyone does anything like that, because afterwards was really intense, especially with social media, which I know we wanted to talk about a little bit. The hate comments, the slut shaming, a lot of that stuff that girls, that actually, like, most of the girls on the show did get. I got heavily, I think a little bit was because of me being from Minnesota, and a lot of my fan base is, or not, that sounds so stupid. Not
You have
fans.
You can say that though.
fans.
You were on a reality TV show.
It's
You're allowed
not.
to say
I mean,
it.
but a lot of the people that followed me were from Minnesota, which is a more conservative state. I just felt like, and nobody from Minnesota, not many people go on these shows. And like, I wasn't from, a New York City or a California where it's very common. And a lot of people are like, oh, my friend was on a reality show. Oh, my friend was on The Bachelor on the third, like people say, it's more common. And then when I went on from Minnesota, I wasn't prepared for it. Social media was new at that time. I think I went on the show with like 100 followers. And then at that time I had like 50 some followers. Like, I felt like overnight, and I didn't know what to do with it. And there wasn't as much known about social media and like the damage and that it can cause mentally, and mental health wasn't as like talked about.
Not
and
at all.
so I got it hard. Like I was messed up for like a little bit, and it took me like about a year to actually kind of regroup and
tune out.
Yeah. Like I
Get
mean,
back
it
to
was because
neutral.
I read every single DM. I read every single
God.
comment, and you can't help it. Like, I didn't have enough followers. Oh, you got goosebumps.
We even, and this is no comparison. Like, people hate on us on TikTok like nobody's business. I think it's a
course.
free, like, it's an issue, but it's like, I
Because-
can't imagine on the scale of like an intimate one like Instagram, because that's just,
And they're judging based on just such a fraction of what MTV chose to show about this moment, and that's not actually fully accurate, or like how I saw it, or how someone. It was super painful. Like, I cried a lot, and I was drinking heavily, and but luckily that's why I think Curtis and I, having a relationship with him and knowing that he went through it as well, and knew who really I was the best thing. And
comforting.
I had a tough time, I guess, but for totally different reasons. Like, as a guy in that space, you just don't really get the hate, and like people.
Which is
I think I just saw it as like I knew what it was, but I don't know. I would say like you will have an experience. Be careful what you wish for, because like I remember being in that interview, that psych eval, and being like, I want an experience. I know it's going to affect me and change me. And I also said, I know that the most, like at the time, I was like, the most important lessons that I think I've learned in life are the hardest ones to learn. This was a very hard one to learn. Not for reasons. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. Right. So, the toughest thing for me was honestly coming back, and when the show started to pick up steam and like getting recognized, that was hard for me, because I, at that point, was like shown a perspective that I just like you can't fully understand until you go through it. But like, somebody comes up to you, some stranger comes up to you on the street, and like they want you to be the 30 seconds of yourself that they saw. And that's not a really enough context to describe you as a human being or where you are at
or
that
an
point.
accurate description, really.
Yeah. So that was always the toughest thing for me, because no matter where I was personally, like, and I definitely took from it, like, I will tell you this, what comes on the backside, the like accessibility to these different experiences, like getting to go out and like, it made alcohol and going out and partying very, very accessible. That's like, if you haven't experienced it, like that seems like a great thing. I will be the first person to tell you that people saying yes to you all the time is not necessarily going to make you a better person. Like, you're just constantly in this world
in your
of
head.
like, everybody wants you to be your character for them when they're with you. And you're like, I don't feel like being that right now. Like, I'm like, I don't really want to tell you this story again. That was the tough thing, is like, I had a tough time managing, like, I don't want to be negative to a stranger, because I'm like, hey, I appreciate you, but like, you got to know at the core, like, that didn't mean anything to me. Like, I treated it as like and I kept making toasts every time we would have a chance to party. I would always be like, don't for a second forget that like, we are being paid to be on an island and like hang out with friends. Like, at the core, that's what I wanted it to be, but it was really hard to like
stay that path,
get back to grounding
Post show and try to depict the real
there was a
you.
little, there was definitely like, and I'm going to keep going back to social media, because that's actually where I was hurt the most. And I'd post like a picture of my mom and I, and like 6 comments in, horror. I'm like, oh, what the?
Yeah, that's brutal.
Or like, slut. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like posting a picture of my mom and I for her birthday or for Mother's Day. And I'm like, this is so, and then
hiding behind their phone and their fake profile.
100%. But, and then it was weird getting recognized. And the other weird thing was too, is that people will crawl out of the woodworks that you haven't talked to in ages.
Oh, that was going to be my last question.
Yeah, see, people do.
And they're like, no, we're
question.
friends. And you're like, no, actually, you were mean to me, I think. Yeah.
And people do change. Not everybody changes. It's not like, oh, everybody I know that's like, your real friends are your real friends forever. And like I said, I think it comes back down to like, there's a certain point where you don't necessarily want to hear it, where I was like, oh, I don't like, I'm in this, I'm doing whatever this is. But then there's the kind of reality check that happens where you're like, okay, like at the core, like, we're all just still friends. And like, that was just an experience I had. It's not the thing that's forever.
Yeah.
So 1 word answer. Would you go on the show again? You don't get to say anything else.
Again? No.
No.
Absolutely not. Okay.
Yeah.